It's just a lot, isn't it? The subject I'm going to give to you is going to be for singles and marrieds. It's not just singles. You should be here because I'm going to talk about marriage, but you should be here because I'm going to have some things specifically to talk with you about. And I want you to be right in here and be listening just as carefully as you do, as the married people do. Heavenly Father, I pray that you'll please bless me and help me to say those things I should and not to say the things I shouldn't, and give me your power to talk about this subject. In Jesus' name, amen. Preparing for God's way to relieve the everyday frictions in marriage. People, every relationship has frictions. Every friendship, every relationship where there might be more than one person, and sometimes I have frictions just getting along with myself, don't you? But anything, where any place, any roommate situation, or where 3 or 4 maybe ladies go together and get into a house, and they have all kinds of problems. Who pays the phone bill, and how come you got such a big long distance bill and I don't have, and I've got to take some of that, and they don't make rules, and they have a lot of difficulty, and working together, if you're on the job, going to church together, being in a Sunday school class together, there are frictions. But God made a way in marriage to help through the time of frictions that no other relationship has. And I'm afraid possibly Christian women are not using that way that he has given. God gave the intimate marital relationship to us and declared the marriage bed undefiled. No other relationship has this gift to help people work around each other's weaknesses or little idiosyncrasies. We should really think about that one statement, that no other relationship has what God gave in marriage. God said in Matthew 19:5, and for this cause shall a man leave father and mother and cleave to his wife, and the twain shall be one flesh. But how can a man cleave to his wife if his wife will not allow him to cleave to her? So then what? Do you know that it seems as if prostitutes will do for money what wives won't do for love? That seems pretty sad to say, doesn't it? But I have talked to those who have in the past made their living by being a prostitute, have gotten saved, are soul winners, and they know exactly why they were in business, because the men tell them, because their wife won't be a wife to them. Christian women act as if that's sort of a virtue not to be a wife. I wonder at where we get this, because the Bible, we as Christians should know from the Bible what the marriage situation is all about a lot more than anybody of the world. And isn't it odd that the more that it's talked, the more just anything goes about what's said. You can hardly go by a newspaper stand without having graphic descriptions of all kinds of things, of illicit romance, forget it, illicit actions, and supposedly everybody knows it all now. But yet when you talk to a Christian woman, she doesn't seem to know much of anything. The more it's in the media, the more it's taught, the more it's told, it's more that seems like we don't know. We have no idea. Somebody told a man who married a Christian lady a few years ago, and it came back to me, not to expect good intimacy for at least 6 months after he is married from this Christian girl. I resent that. That should not be. We should know more faster, because we know the Bible, and God didn't withhold anything in the Bible. If we really just read the Bible and don't go ahead and study in any other way, if we just read the Bible, we should know more than what the world knows about the intimate marital relationship. I'm afraid most women don't look at intimacy as beautiful, but and pure and wonderful and sacred and biblical. But do you think And I noticed in Brother Jeff Owen's book, when I was reading it to get ready to promote it, I had read it several months ago, but I wanted to reread some of it. I noticed he talked about the fact that we are preparing for marriage from little girlhood on up. And I wonder, he didn't mention this particular thing as far as I remember, but I wonder if we're missing the boat with our young girls right off in the beginning by the fact that we don't talk to them, really talk with them and listen to them about the cycles of life. As if it's that's right there as they begin thinking about their body and thinking about their bodily functions. And singles, there's going to be so many girls, young girls, you could listen to whose mothers are not available or who will not listen to them. I know many of you are sitting here and saying, my mother never told me anything. And maybe some of you said, I never told my girl anything. Maybe you were like I am. My daughter says that whenever she started asking something, I'd go, well, Joy, I went into a completely different mode. People, if you have to go into a completely different, uncharacteristic mode, go ahead and go into the completely different characteristic mode, but go ahead and talk. Or they're going to find someone to talk to. I heard that Dr. Joe Boyd decided that when his children came to him, there was nothing they asked that he would not answer, and he had to swallow really hard sometimes, he said. He had to swallow really hard. But you know what? If you don't give the answer, they will find it another way, whatever it is that they are asking you. People, the talk is not enough. We think, well, we'll tell them, girls, someday there's going to be something that'll happen, and you'll understand when it comes, and there's a drawer here where you can get some things, and thank you so much. Goodbye. And we feel as if we have really, gone ahead and gone the mile. People, I know. I mean, I don't even like to be up here talking like this, and I don't think there's anything dirty about any of it. But I'm afraid there's some people here who think there is, and so they think I'm a dirty old woman. And I know you're wrong and I'm right, but I still feel a little bit different doing this, let me tell you. One who even with her daughter, if you have to stammer, stutter, just stutter it on out. And say, honey, it's a little hard for me to talk about this, but and they'll get the idea. And there's nothing wrong with it or anything, but I don't know what and say, let me write it out, may I? Or put it on a tape. Say, I'll get the tape ready when you're not looking at me and we'll play it together. Somehow talk with them. Somehow be there. Somehow answer them, their questions. Are we preparing girls about that part of their life? And maybe that will be getting them ready for feeling that it's fine about the intimate marital relationship. Decide and practice what you're going to say when people are so free to ask you or the girl for whom you're responsible, has she started yet? People, it is none of anybody's business when your daughter starts. And when you start telling all of your friends and say things like, oh, it's so early. It's always too early for us because we want them to stay a baby. And we know they're going to be onto this for the next 40 years, And so it's a little bit early no matter when it is. And then we tell a mother, oh, she started unusually early. Then that mother tells somebody else, and then another mother tells her girl, and then her girl goes to school and tells the other girls, and then some girl tells a boy, and then and it all comes back, and she's embarrassed to death. So she knows not to talk to you. Wouldn't it be nice if for at least a few months she could have just something between you and her, that you could celebrate her womanhood together without her having to think everybody's looking at me? They know. I feel like I'm, But we just, I have a friend. I'm always having so many friends, aren't I? You'd think I had a lot of friends, but it's all the same people. They're so bad. Every one of them so bad they give me so much to talk about. I it's bad to be one of my friends because you're going to be told about in the paper or the spectacular or something. Everybody thinks they recognize themselves that works around me. But anyway, they do give good copy. What was I going to say? Where was I? Help me. I had a friend who's practiced with her daughter after the fact, the first time. And they decided what they were going to do about if friends at school said, have you? And so they practiced it, and they didn't want to lie. But so they came up with, my mother and I have decided that we're going to keep that to ourselves for a while. That doesn't say whether they have or they haven't. My mother, and it doesn't say, it's none of your business. You really mean that. But you don't say it. You say, my mother and I have. So she practiced with her girl. And her girl was having her devotions and reading the Bible. And all of a sudden the mother said, name. I always say Susie. So, Susie, have you started yet? She went, yeah, Mom. Oh, no. Then she realized they were play acting. My mother and I have decided that we're going to keep that a secret between us when it happens. People, let's guard then maybe they would feel as they go ahead and have other experiences in life, when it's right time to have other experiences in life, that someone's not going to go talk to everyone else. Probably when you talk each other, your daughter's times with anybody, not just with one counselor, but with anybody, probably you might also be getting them ready to talk their life with their husband over with their friends. People, I'm telling you, that is really disgusting. It's a beautiful situation, but it's between you and your husband. And the both of you, if you want to go to one person, agree on it and go to one person. But other than that, you're asking, that is not right. Do you want your husband talking about your relationship to any other man? So right away, let's just decide we're not going to have to tell everything about, and actually we don't have to give the word on how many days till and how many days after and how many days it lasted, all the rest of our lives either. It's as if we think we've got to, tell everybody exactly what's happening in our intimate life, and we don't. Women start telling when their children, their girls are wearing a bra. Oh, my soul. I mean, the kids go, I can't believe my mother told that. Oh, Mom. Boy, let the girl have some privacy. I don't mind telling about mine because, I wear different sizes, and I told you that whenever I want, to feel smaller, I just get a different size. And that's kind of private, but, what can you say? We all, most of you can't do that, can you? When your blouses won't close, you just put smaller prostheses in. We also may be destroying the future of a girl's self-confidence by being hurt ourselves by their being larger than they should be. And say, you're just husky, stout, chubby, lanky. Those are ugly words. I can remember an aunt one time, Aunt Eleanor, saying that she had read in the Grit newspaper, I had gotten as tall as I am now, about as big frame as I am now, about the 7th grade, and she said, I read in the Grit newspaper about a girl who had grown to 7 feet tall, and I wonder if that's going to be you, if you're going to be like that. People, I carried that with me and didn't say anything and didn't ask anybody about it, and I could have found out very quickly. A doctor would have been able to tell that I wasn't going to, be 7 feet tall. But I had quite a time there when I thought I was going to be 7 feet tall. Realize that preparing a girl for adulthood in this area doesn't come just with the talk, in which you someday do all what you think are the necessary things and feel good you just did that. I've had women tell me that when they first had their cycle, they thought they were going to have a baby. Others said they thought that this would continue daily for the rest of their lives. Well, it does. No. But they didn't know. They knew that they no, they just said that's going to happen and here's where you go, but they didn't know how. They weren't given details. And I know that I know it spread all over the nation and world, but it seems like the more it spread, the more we don't know. Not because people aren't talking and answering and listening one-on-one. It's just throwing it out before whole groups. Before marriage, sometimes before marriage, and someone asks for help and they're told, you don't need any help before, you'll be fine. And many of you aren't fine right now. You haven't been fine for 10 years of your marriage. You haven't been fine for 1 year of your marriage. You haven't been fine for many, many more years than that, possibly, of your marriage. But that's the same thing you were told about your cycle. It's no problem. It's no problem. People, it is too a problem when you're vomiting, having diarrhea at the same time, and you're having cramps in your belly. And they don't even know that they're not dying. Because no one's even, now you don't program that because a lot of people are eating well and exercising well and just go through it so you don't program it, but to watch for it and find out if maybe they have a headache and let them know there's things they can do. And you have girls coming to college who don't know it'd be nice to have 2 hours going to bed, put a heating pad on you if you have the cramps and get a little pill and have some relief. They don't know it. They don't know it in this. Now, they don't know it. Transitions are hard for most people. Maybe because we aren't taking girls through transitions all along. There's transitions every few months of our lives. And who's helping us to face them? It's not easy for some generations to talk like this. It's not easy for me. But if we will, we can certainly help so that there won't be such tainted answers from their peers, because they will be tainted. Singles, you want to say things, be helpful to married people. Some of you say things to people like, I don't need marriage. Who needs a man? They are nothing but trouble. Yes, but. No. You may feel that way, or you may make yourself feel that way because of the fact that the right man has not. You just haven't dated a man you really want to give up your life to. Don't marry then, for goodness sake. It's fine, but you don't have to be saying, they're nothing but trouble. You may let's learn to not say everything we think. That's our problem. We say everything we think, I don't need a man, and 1 year later you're married. And the person you were talking to wasn't getting along well in their marriage, and they're divorced because they heard you're talking against marriage. One's happily married, one's divorced. It's your fault, singles. It's so delightful to be around ladies who have been very hurt by men who have left them and hear them say they are all for marriage and get excited by new marriages. Case in point, Dr. Ferry Shepherd. This was not someone who was married and a man left her, but she never did feel she was supposed to be married. She told me personally she never felt she was supposed to be married. She felt she was to complete the work of Dr. John R. Rice, his work and his family. And that's what she did all the days of her life. A very lovely lady who's been here and who we've honored with the carat diamond on her 75th birthday and all that type of thing, who never married, felt she should never be married, but she was one of the biggest boosters of romance for those around her who were married. Jane and Chris Grafton had a double ceremony while Dr. Ferry's been gone for quite some time, but while Dr. Ferry was alive and well and bouncy, she had the flu and was just gone just like that. But she was so excited about that double wedding and wanted to meet the guys, and then she wanted to hear, it's really fun to see someone who isn't married be excited about romance and be excited about other people's marriages. She was so delighted in the romance and marriage of Dr. John R. Rice and Mrs. Lois Rice. Then we had a person who helped us found the Christian Womanhood paper, Pat Hayne, who helped. She was really instigator in starting it. She came here alone with 3 young children, very hurt after 24 years of marriage. She not only did not talk against marriage, she did not only not talk against marriage, she actively talked for it and even talked about the wonderful times that she had had in her earlier married life. I don't mean telling things she shouldn't, but letting you feel as if marriage had really been good. She always talked as if she would never marry again, but she thought that was only for her. But some of you may not know that 6 years ago she did find the love of her life, and for 4 years, she had 4 wonderful years, and then he unexpectedly passed away, but she is still radiating in his love. Now, why are the reasons for lack of intimacy? Possibly because we won't talk even with our husbands. They don't know where we're coming from. We don't know where they're coming from. There's this saying, this buzz phrase today, are you on the same page? I don't think any of us are on the same page with our husbands. I don't even think we're near the page. I think they're at the back of the book and we're at the front of the book, if we're in the book at all. You may feel that some of what I say today is disgusting talk, but we really should be more disgusted and hurt and saddened to hear women say they haven't been with their husband in 10 years. People, if that is true, don't tell it. It's not a badge of honor. Someone recently said she could not feel comfortable because her bedroom doesn't have a private bathroom. People, we're not talking filth here. We're talking about clean, sacred, biblical marriage, about which the Bible says the marriage bed is undefiled. You say he's an animal. Congratulations, you got a man. A man animal. God made women to where there needs to be preparation. I really always thought that candles and lingerie and all this stuff, romantic music and all of that, I thought it was for the man. It only took me 35 years to realize it was for the woman. The man doesn't need it. He's ready to go. The woman needs it all day long. Get out your whatever you're going to have for nightwear, and look at it all day long, getting the idea. Put on the candles and smell the coffee burning or whatever, not burning. Something's not burning, get it burning. People, the greatest marriage aid is right here, the mind. Right here. You start thinking and preparing yourself. He doesn't have to prepare himself. You have to prepare yourself. There should be planning. People, they say, I wonder if some people are just too clean to be married. Maybe if you're that clean, you should not marry. If you're not going to be... Why are you laughing, Miss House? She's giggling. She's not a clean girl. She may look like it when she comes out in public, but I can tell by the giggle. There's just something about a giggle. It's just like she said, amen. There should be planning. People, what's the matter with, we don't have a bathroom in our bedroom. What's the matter with take a bunch of towels and take some washcloths that are all warm and nice and get them all ready and take them in the bedroom with you? What's wrong with that? You know what? We'll find a way to eat. At least I will. Have a locked drawer. Maybe you ought to have a locked drawer or chest or suitcase with decent books about the marital relationship in it that you don't particularly want everybody just be looking that it's under your Bible by your telephone on the stand. or your children or whatever. You say, we can't do anything because the children are around. People, you may not be together when the children are around, as in someone might be sick, someone might be gone, you don't know. There is not time to wait for the children to leave. What's funny about that? 25 years. Oh, yes, there's some, you're going to have them a long time these days. They stay in the house. You may have a locked chest or drawer or something and have your little things in there, that are, really little. I've had women say to me, I just don't like the messiness. People, you don't like, you are much more filth than that, working with the children out and playing with mud pies. It's not the messiness. You don't love the man. One of the sins, okay, you're going to say, what do I do? Okay, well, I'm where you're talking about, so what do I do now? Don't do anything. They'll say, she just came home from that meeting, it won't last, I'm not going to count on it. I know she was told to do that. Some of them want their wives to go to every women's meeting that's ever advertised. I've got a lady right down here that her husband says, go to every meeting you go to, you're so kind, for 3 days afterwards. And you don't want him pinching on the bottom, while you're doing your work in the kitchen, because you say, I know where that can lead. And it doesn't fit into my time frame. Singles, this should give you a lot of hope if women are this bad. They are this bad, aren't they? Yes. How many women have time to sit around and wait for their husband's advances? We make our husbands an interruption. You say, you don't want him to touch. People, who is he supposed to touch? We don't want him to touch us, but boy, he'd better not touch anybody else. Or you're not liking that very well. A tap on the bottom while doing dishes, signal. Leave me alone. That joke I always tell you about when they come home from a party and on the way up the steps, the man says, I'm going to get you some aspirin. She says, I don't have a headache. And he goes, gotcha. Some women say, I don't talk about this, so I don't think on it. I don't even read Proverbs 7 or Song of Solomon. Song of Solomon, Song of Solomon, Song of Solomon, Song of Solomon. Just say it. People, you're embarrassed to say the Song of Solomon because it says things like a position and things. I know it has to do with something else too, but it does seem awfully scary to read that book. There's some words you just need to go, whatever the words are that you can't say, that are okay to say. You just need to say them over and over with your husband until you've got him practice and say them. People, are we doing something wrong where we're not teaching girls transitions as we teach them about their bodies? We're not saying this is okay and this will happen and this is okay, and getting them ready gradually for marriage and letting them know that this is wonderful. And so we're all sitting here. I don't want us to be a bunch of prudes and let the prostitutes go out and do for money what we don't do for love and knowing the Bible and knowing God. I do not like that. People, you don't need your money going to a prostitute. Part of your money is your husband's money. What are you laughing about, Doris? She just broke out laughing. My sister. She just burst out. What's the matter? What? What? Oh, thank you, honey. She said I'm funny. She always did think I was. Oh, I really think half the battle is just giving ourselves permission to think and study on the subject. I don't think we really think it's okay all day long to every little bit, say something or think, no, don't say anything, think something, about our husband that's good, and maybe start preparations, and have everything, all the five senses going on in the house, beans with onions in them, that onion smell, when they walk in, you smelling with perfume, and, getting all, I know you get all built up for some of that, and he walks in the door and says, I have to turn right around and leave and go to work. I know that could happen, but sometimes it doesn't happen right away like he'd planned. Lack of intimacy leads to problems. Every marriage needs the intimate marital relationship. Where there's no intimacy, there is frustration. And frustration leads to nitpicking. Men are told to keep in control, not look elsewhere. The intimate marital relationship is the way to keep it in control. Why don't you have an affair with your husband? Now, you might have to start out very easily. And I know whereof I speak, you may have to start dating again. My husband and I started dating in January again because I didn't eat last October, after the spectacular, November, December, about in there. So he couldn't eat with me. I didn't focus on anything like Barney Fife or anything else. So we couldn't watch anything together that we think's fun. I didn't talk, so we couldn't talk together. I wouldn't talk to my caregiver. I wouldn't talk to anybody. I just sort of, because if I said anything, it was going to be negative because I didn't see anything positive about anything. Not sitting there full of poison. Somehow I just didn't have a good outlook on life. And I didn't want any music, and I didn't want... You just don't come out from that, and all of a sudden, it'd be scary, but you kind of start dating again. And, it's kind of fun. First, we eat together. And then we go back out to breakfast again together, like we used to, and talk. I could have cried when a waitress that's known us for a long, long time said, you all like each other as much as you seem to like each other, the way you talk when you come in here. I could have just cried because she didn't know what she was saying to me, that we could talk again. So you may have to start dating again. And you may have, and if you're sick, and if both of you maybe are not well, you may need to have some times together where you just enjoy visiting. They're very unusual, such as this morning, 3 to 5 for my husband and me. We both woke up. We knew each other was stirring. And we just had a nice time together from 3 to 5. Is that any worse? Does it say any place you've got to have a time visiting or anything else that from 7 to 9 in a restaurant or something like that? Just do what you can do. And that's all you can do. And so start dating. Start sending a little note. Start by, and let it be something that you don't expect everything to just begin again, over again, just like that. Do all things we tell married people not to do. Singles, don't do anything. It's ugly, it's dirty, and all of that over here. But boy, as you get toward marriage, it's all wonderful and good and clean and great. Make the transitions. Be as discreet as a nun. I guess nuns were discreet. Were they, Jojo? Be as discreet as she was at one, but she went to school to them and so forth. Be as discreet as a nun outside the bedroom, and as interesting as a prostitute inside the marriage walls. Because we who love the Bible understand that a prostitute could never be for money what a loving wife could be for love. Know your best times of the day or month and be prepared. If he's ready, it won't take him any time to be prepared. It might take you all day to prepare. If one or the other is too tired at night, take advantage of early times. Tell him, hey, let's go out for breakfast, but don't go out. Don't eat. But just call it out to breakfast. All right, tell him, let's go home for dessert, but there's no dessert. He'll get the idea. And marriages are all so different. We can't judge each other's marriage. There's absolutely no way. Anticipate while you're doing mindless tasks, and aren't there a lot of them? You don't have to use your mind to do a lot of the things that you do around the house. Think of anything good you can think about your husband. He wants to think he can make you happy. He really does. Or he did once. There was one time probably that he wanted to make you happy. If he's given up, why don't you find a way to allow him the privilege of making you happy? People, let's ask the Lord to help us in this area. Women who know the Bible and have had good Christian teaching, women who really know about marriage and love and staying with one partner for life, should surely be the very best with their husbands rather than the world. And I'm very saddened that it's not true. Let's ask God to help us. Would you bow your heads and close your eyes? God, in this most important area, the area in which you even show us we love one another, show forth to people how Christ loves the church, I pray, Lord, that you'll help us do what we can and be what we can to see to it that we use what you've given us in the marriage relationship that you chose not to give any other relationship.